David here from Figboot on Pens. Today we're going to take a look at something a little bit different, something that's not actually a fountain pen, but a tool that I use on a daily basis that relates to fountain pens. It's an Excel spreadsheet and a report that I created to manage my pens and inks as well as my daily rotation. A little backstory here that I'm a data analyst by trade, and so creating Excel-based reporting is something I do on a daily basis. So it's natural that I would then create something like this for my fountain pen collection as well. It's been very useful for me, and so I wanted to make it available for others to use as well. So I fully realize that this tool isn't for everybody. The Venn diagram of the people that it's going to get a real good use out of this is rather small, but if you're looking for something to better manage your collection or keep track of usage, then this tool might be beneficial for you. So a Dropbox link to download the spreadsheet is going to be listed down below in the notes. And so what I'm going to do now is show you the tool, demonstrate how to enter some data, and then explain the various analysis that it produces. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to comment in the video or email me directly at the address notes below. So on to the demonstration. Here we are taking a look at the EDC fountain pen log. It's nothing super pretty, but I think it does the job. So you have a number of different tabs down here. You have the EDC tab, the Everyday Carry tab, one for pens to catalog pens, one to catalog ink, one for a wish list, and then one for a guide. Now, the guide is just the instructions that we're going over right now, and if at a later point in time you want to review them, then they're there for you. The wish list is just an area that I created so that if I find a pen or an ink or something else that related to fountain pens that I would like to purchase, I actually put it in here with the price and then a link to the site and keep track of it so that as I come across things, I can put it in here so I don't forget about them or things along those lines. So now we'll go ahead and get to the actual cataloging. So the first thing is to catalog a couple of inks. Now the way this spreadsheet is created, that a lot of the cells are locked and you can't even click on them. So just know that if you can click in a cell, that's where you're going to be putting information. If you click on a cell and you can't click on it, it's not highlighting that cell, then you're not supposed to click on it. So first of all, we're just going to put in a couple of inks here. So let's say we're going to put in a Franklin Christoph and Terra Firma, and that's going to be a brown ink, and I actually purchased that from Anderson Pens. I like keeping track of where I purchase things from, that's helpful. And then on top of that, what's next here is the rotation. And so the rotation means that if you want this ink included in a later part of the spreadsheet, and you'll understand where that comes up. So basically, if you want the ink to be included in what you could choose down the line, then that's what you do. You put that on Y. If you put it on N or don't make a choice, then that ink doesn't show up later. Now let's just put in a couple of more inks. We have a Bung Box, and that's a 4B, which is more of a blue-black, and purchased that from Van Ness. Then one more. Oops, we'll just say that's Diamine, and the name of it is Matador, and that is a red ink, and that actually came from Goulet Pens. And then we'll select Y in here. So now that we've done that, you could see that it selected, or that all three of your inks are in here, and over here on the inventory it actually alphabetizes those for you. So it alphabetizes it there. If for some reason you wanted to organize your inks and say, okay, I wonder how many blue inks or how many brown inks, you could actually use these filters here as well, so that you can you could use that once you get a whole bunch of inks and you wonder, hey, well, how many blues do I really have? You could filter that down and sort that and use that accordingly. So now we're going to go to the pen section to catalog your pens. So we'll just put a couple of pens in here. We'll put in a Faber-Castell Loom, and that's a medium nib that I have, and we'll call it blue. Even that's only the cap, the rest is silver, but I'll just put in blue. And then you get to choose what ink, because a lot of times I'll actually ink up a pen and then I might not use that pen for a while and I've forgotten what ink I put it in. So this way I can choose what ink. So if I select this drop down menu, you could see that the 3 inks that we put in on the other tab actually show up here. So we'll say that one has the bung box in it, and then we could say that, hey, I purchased this pen from Pen Chalet. And similar to the ink, do you want this pen to be in your rotation? Because I have certain pens that I have in my daily rotation that I want to make sure that I use, and then I have other pens that aren't in the rotation. And so I still want to catalog those, but I don't necessarily want them in the rotation. So either I leave that blank or put an N in here. So let's just quickly put in a couple of other pens. A Lamy Dialogue 3, and that's a medium nib, and that's black, and that we'll just select a different ink and say that that is with the Terra Firma, and that one came from Jet Pens, and yes, we'll have that, and we'll put one more in here. And we'll just say that that has the diamine in it, and this one was purchased at an auction, and we'll select Y. So again, you could see that if you wanted to, you can go ahead and sort these in any way you'd like. Sometimes it's helpful to wonder, okay, I typically sort them by manufacturer, by maker, so that I can keep track of exactly how many I have by each manufacturer. But you can tell also over here that on the left hand side that it alphabetizes your pens for you, so that you have them alphabetized here. And what it does is it actually combines the name of the pen, the make of the pen, the model of the pen, and the color. So it kind of combines all 3 of those. So Faber-Castell Loom Blue, you could see that it is Faber-Castell Loom and Blue over here. So now that we've kind of categorized these things, we're going to get to the kind of the more fun portion of this, which is the everyday carry log. And you can see that it's actually pre-populated with a little bit of information, and that right now the days used is a little bit off, but you'll see that we'll actually fix that here in a second. So the first thing you want to do is put a starting day. So you want to put the first day that you are starting to catalog your pens. And so I'll just put in here December 1st, 2015. And you can see that it will automatically populate this down, and it actually goes for quite some ways. It goes for a little over a year, about 1.5 years, I believe. And it also says what day of the week that is. And so what this does is it shows you your rotation, and the rotation are only the pens that you put a Y next to. So you can see right now there's the 3 pens. If we go back here and take the Dialogue 3 and change that to a no, and say that's no longer in our rotation, no longer shows up here. We'll change that back to a yes. So what it does is it keeps a list of the rotation, and it tells you how long it's been since we've used this pen. Well, today is Saturday the 5th, and so that's why it's saying that we haven't used either of these pens in 4 days, because it's 4 days from here. And so over here on the far right hand side, it will actually list all of the pens in order, is ranked by the longest used. So a lot of times when I'm looking for which pen to use on a regular day, I'll take a look at one of the pens I haven't used for the longest, and you'll be able to see that over here on the right hand side. So when it comes to actually entering in these pens, what you do is you come over here on the left-hand side where it says pen, and if you use this drop-down menu, it will show all of your pens in your rotation. So we say, hey, on Tuesday I used the Loom, and then on Wednesday I used the Dialogue, and then on Thursday I used the Vanishing Point, and then I decided on Friday to use my Dialogue again. So what you could see is a number of things populated. So over here, first of all, it shows your top 10 used. So it shows you the top 10 pens in your collection and the number of times that you've used them. So I wanted over time to kind of see what I gravitated to and put some numbers behind that, because I might feel that, hey, I kind of reach for this pen a little more often than I do other things, other pens, but I wanted to put some numbers behind that. I also break it down by day so that you could kind of categorize and say, hey, like I have a Mont Blancs, and I typically use my Mont Blancs on Mondays, and so that the Mont Blancs will be very high on my Monday list, but then they won't show up later on. But some might be interesting to see what pen you have a tendency to use on a specific day. Also, right down here is an ink section, and it keeps track of how many pens in your rotation are using certain inks, so you can see what ink you have a tendency to gravitate toward. And then over here on the right hand side, you can see that it shows the days since used. So in this particular case, since today is actually the 5th, it's showing that it's been 1 day since we used the Lamy Dialogue. And if I actually wanted to go down here and say, okay, today I'm going to use the Loom, then what happens is then that goes away. Actually, doesn't go. It goes away because you're using it today, and then tomorrow it will actually show up here again. Over here in the days since used, it shows how many times you used a specific pen, the last day it was used. This one says today because today is actually the 5th. And then it actually shows you what day of the week you used the pens as well. Something that I find helpful is a lot of times on my log, I have a lot of different pens, and I kind of say, hey, you know what? I haven't used that Pilot Vanishing Point in a while, and I really want to make sure I use that coming up. So what you can do is in this Need to Use section, you select any of these cells, and all of your pens that are in your rotation show up here. And if you select one, then what happens is it highlights the pen in red down here in the longest used. And so for me, that just gives me a visual clue that, hey, you know what, I need to use this one coming up. And so what happens is once I've used that pen, then I can take it out of this Need to Use, and it changes that from red. So it's just a visual clue when you say, hey, I haven't used this pen for a while and I want to make sure that I use it, then that's something that you could use as a visual clue in order to do that. So this is the log that I use on a daily basis, and over time it's really shown me a lot as far as what I end up gravitating toward, and the pens that I have a tendency to use on a regular basis. But then also for some of the pens in my collection I don't use that often, I want to make sure that I do use them on a regular basis. And so sometimes you might not realize when a pen has been sitting for a month or two and hasn't been used. So this really helps me to make sure that I'm kind of rotating through all of my collection, or as many things as I want to, as opposed to ignoring pens for an extended period of time. So like I mentioned previously, that this is available in the notes below the video. There is a link to download this. It's something that potentially is helpful for folks. I understand it's not for everybody, but it's something that's really worked well for me, and so I just wanted to make sure that I offered it to other folks as well. So if you could use it, great. If not, then that's fine. I understand that it's not for everybody. So if you do have any questions about it, then feel free to shoot me an email. My email address is in the video or the video notes as well, and more than happy to answer any questions on it if you're having any issues with this as well. So I appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.